In 2010, Chumlee made one careless move that changed everything at the pawnshop. He was handling a simple bass guitar that looked ordinary. Just $700 in pawn value. Nothing special. But when it crashed to the floor, the repair estimate made Rick's face turn white. The number was so big, Chumlee couldn't even speak. Rick exploded with anger nobody had ever seen before. He pointed at the door and told Chumlee to leave immediately. What happened next tore the shop apart for months. This mistake never aired on TV, but it became the most whispered disaster in Pawn Stars history. Austin Lee Russell came into the world on September 8, 1982 in Asmal home in Henderson, Nevada. He was the second child in a family that never had much. And when his parents split early in his life, the pressure fell on his mother. She worked long hours, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs at once, just to keep the lights on. Most nights she came home tired, but she still tried to make things feel normal for Austin and his siblings, Sage and Tara. Money was tight, so she often bought old items from garage sales and flipped them for a few extra dollars. Austin watched her turn use things into rent money. And without even knowing it, he started learning how value worked. He saw how something that looked ordinary to one person could mean something to someone else. Those early days planted the first quiet seeds of the pawnshop life he would one day step into. In the 1990s suburbs around Las Vegas, Austin grew up like any other kid. At first, he loved video games, loved collecting toys, and loved hanging out with friends after school. But even then, he had this eye for interesting stuff. While other kids were focused on sports or cartoons, Austin wandered through garage sales with his mom and tried trading items for things he wanted more. He had a good sense for what looked cool and what someone might pay for. It wasn't serious work yet, but it was the start of a way off thinking that would follow him for the rest of his life. When he was 10, he learned one of the hardest lessons a kid can learn. He had saved up money from doing little trades at school and spent $50 on what he believed was a real Mickey Mantle card. For him, $50 was huge. It felt like he had bought treasure. But when he showed it to an older collector, he found out it was fake. The disappointment hit hard. It stung so much that he remembered the feeling years later. But that mistake taught him something he never forgot. It taught him that shiny things fool people and authenticity is everything. Later at the pawn shop, he turned that childhood failure into a story he used to warn others. When Austin was around 12, a friend's dad took one look at his round face and said he looked just like Chumlee, the walrus from the old Tennessee Tuxedo cartoon. Austin didn't like it at first, but once a nickname sticks at that age, there is no escaping it. Soon, everyone called him Chumlee. What started as teasing became part of who he was. Instead of running from it, he grew into it. The name made him memorable and later helped him stand out once he stepped into the world of reality TV. The walrus joke from 1994 became a part of his brand. Middle school wasn't easy for him. With the nickname and his looks, he became an easy target, but during those years, he found something that helped him blend in. Pokemon cards became the big thing in the late 1990s, and Chumlee realized could trade, buy, and sell them for a small profit. He started understanding supply and demand without ever opening a textbook. Kids who teased him started coming to him for card trades. Bit by bit, he built confidence by doing what he was good at. He learned how to deal with people, how to negotiate, and how to recognize when something had real value. By the time he was 17, he felt done with school. In 1999, he dropped out of Green Valley High and took the GED route instead. He picked up jobs wherever he could. One of them was at a comic shop, stocking shelves and helping customers find old issues. Comic shops were the homes of collectors, gamers, and people who loved the same things he did. It kept him close to the world he understood best. He dealt with customers, handled old items, and learned what people were willing to pay for rare finds. For him, that shop was better than a classroom. When he was 15, he made a mistake that could have gone very wrong. He tried selling a stolen bike part at a flea market. He got caught and was grounded for months. It embarrassed him, scared him, and forced him to think about what kind of person he wanted to be. Instead of pushing him away from the world of buying and selling, it made him more serious about doing it the right way. He learned the weight of reputation and honesty. After that grounding, he never touched shady deals again. Everything changed the day he met Corey Harrison. They were both around 8 years old, living in the same area in Henderson. What started as two kids bonding over video games and collectibles grew into a friendship that lasted decades. Corey's family owned the gold and silver pawnshop, which had opened in 1989, and Chumlee spent a lot of time around Corey's world. He didn't know it then, but that friendship would shape his future more than anything else. In 2000, when he was 18, Corey took him into the pawnshop simply to browse old comics, but inside, Chumlee watched Rick Harrison haggle over a vintage Atari console for $150. Watching Rick negotiate like that lit something inside him. Every item had a hidden story. Every sale was a puzzle. That one moment made him want to learn how all of it worked. By 2001, he was helping out at the shop for free. His ordered shelves full of old Nintendo games, dug through dusty boxes off comics, and checked collectibles for damage. One day, he spotted a fake He-Man figure that almost fooled everyone. When Rick confirmed it was counterfeit, he gave Chumlee the day's tips as a reward. That one moment showed Rick that Chumlee had a natural eye for spotting fakes and gems. In 2002, Hamade's first real deal. A customer brought in a Super Mario Bros. Cartridge that Chumlee recognized as rare. He told Rick to buy it for $200. Rick hesitated, but Chumlee was sure. They bought it, and the shop later sold it for $800. Chumlee earned a $1.50 commission and a huge boost in confidence. That moment made him feel like he belonged in the shop. Years later, the story even appeared on Pawn Stars. He saw the darker side of the pawn world, too. Once a furious argument broke out over a Civil War pistol. The customer insisted it was real and worth a lot. Rick disagreed. Voices rose, tempers stirred. Chumlee watched the whole thing shaken, but the scene taught him how important knowledge and caution were. He saw how quickly a simple deal could turn heated. In 2003, when he turned 21, he was officially hired at the gold and silver pawn shop. His starting pay was $8 an hour. He tested gold chains with acid kits, handled pawn tickets, and worked the counter. It wasn't glamorous, but every day he learned something new. Bit by bit, he became part of the team. He didn't know it then, but the slow routine of those early years was preparing him for the moment the cameras would start rolling and everyone would know the name he once hated. Chumlee's early days at the pawn shop started in 2004 when he was still a quiet kid, learning the rhythm of the place. He showed up every morning at 9 o'clock and the day always began the same way. Trucks pulled and loaded with storage unit auctions that came in with no warning. Sometimes there were hundreds of things piled together. Old Hot Wheels cars from the 1950s, stacks of comic book lots, boxes that smelled like dust and mystery. He had toe-sorted everything fast and guess what each thing was worth. Sometimes he would haggle for whole boxes of vintage comics and get them for less than $100. The work was long and heavy. And there were moments when he felt more like Omover than an employee. But those hours built something inside him. He learned how to find value hiding in junk. This early grind became the base that carried him through the years when the show later needed someone who understood storage units better than anyone else. In 2005, he got his first real win. A vintage 1970s Star Wars lightsaber toy came in and instead of passing it to Rick or Corey, he trusted his own instincts. He paid $300 for it, and collectors tried to talk him down or scare him into thinking it was worthless. He held his ground. When the shop sold it for about $3,000, the profit alone lifted the store's numbers by nearly 20% for the month. That was the first moment Chumlee felt like he was more than just a worker. He felt like someone who could see what others missed. Word spread in the shop, word spread among the local collectors. It was the first time he realized he could shape his own place in the business if he kept going. But the next year reminded him how fast things could go wrong. In 2006, he bought a Rolex for $1,200, thinking it was real. Rick checked it, saw it was fake, and exploded. It was the first time Chumlee heard him say, "You're fired," with real anger behind it. The mistake cost the shop $900. Even after Chumlee sold the fake watch for $30 to cut the loss, he apologized again and again until Rick calmed down. Rick let him stay, but the lesson never left. From that day on, Chumlee double-cheat everything. He never forgot how easy it was to slip up when pressure was high. By 2007, he had grown enough that Rick started trusting him with bigger things. Famous collectors came in with rare items, and Chumlee was the one who handled them. One day, an authentic Elvis Presley belt buckle came into the store, and he authenticated it and sold it for $500 without hesitation. He also learned the pawnshop's early digital system and helped move the inventory into a computer, keeping things organized in ways the shop had never seen before. People think of him as the goofy guy on TV, but inside the store, he was becoming a real part of everything that kept it running. In 2008, he tried to fix something in his personal life. He started using the small gym at the pawn shop and lost 50 pounds over the year. He felt lighter and more confident when he talked to customers. Rick noticed the change and raised his pay to $12 an hour. It was a big jump for him. It was also the first time he felt truly respected. That year marked a shift. He was becoming the version of himself people later saw on TV. Someone who laughed easily but worked hard behind the scenes. By the time filming started in July 2009, Chumlee already had 5 years of work behind him. He walked into the producer's audition and turned it into a moment the show still talks about. He saw a Pac-Man arcade machine, started haggling with the producers like they were customers, cracked jokes, argued about its price, and made everyone laugh. He did not plan any of it. His timing was natural and they loved it. He was cast on the spot. He was the friend of Corey who grew up in the shop and somehow became the heart of the show without meaning to. When the first season aired in 2009 and 2010, he appeared in 10 of the 16 episodes. One of the scenes people remember most is him buying a 1960s Beatles album for $150 with a mix of excitement and nerves. Viewers connected with him instantly. The season pulled in about 2.7 million viewers each episode, and a surprising amount of fan mail came addressed to him. People liked his simple humor and the way he felt real on camera. His rise was fast and he had no idea how big it would get. Still, off camera, he worked harder than people knew. He stayed up late reading antique guides and memorizing values. Filming a Civil War sword appraisal one day, he messed up so many lines they had to redo the scene 5 times. He hated slowing everyone down, but he refused to quit. That effort made him better. Step by step, the goofy clerk became someone fans respected for trying to grow. By the end of season 2 in 2010, his life had changed completely. He went from earning $25,000 a year at the pawn shop to making $100,000 because of the show. He bought his first car, a 1995 Mustang, and started building a serious video game collection. Money brought freedom, and that freedom brought even more confidence. By 2016, he was a multimillionaire, but those early checks were the ones that mattered most because they showed him his life had truly turned around. That same year, he also began meeting fans in person. He signed autographs at small Las Vegas events and always took extra time with kids or collectors who looked nervous. At one event, a fan handed him a rare Nintendo Zelda cartridge worth about $400. It was a simple gesture, but it stayed with him. He kept the cartridge as a reminder of how far he had come. From sorting dusty boxes in 2004 to becoming someone people admired enough to bring gifts. It began in 2011 when he shocked fans by walking into the shop with a 1920s-style Tommy gun replica he bought for $500. Most people expected him to mess it up, but the experts said it was a solid replica worth about $5,000. When he sold it for that amount, Rick Harrison actually smiled and gave him rare praise. Fans loved watching Chumlee flip the script and show he could think for himself. That one deal made people look at him with fresh eyes. Then came 2012 when he suddenly crossed over into Nickelodeon. He appeared as himself in the iCarly episode One Lost My Head in Vegas, standing next to Rick and Corey in front of nearly 4 million young viewers. His scene felt playful and goofy with him haggling over a props word like he did in the shop. Kids began quoting him online, turning small lines into loud memes. And for the first time, he felt the weight of being recognized by people who didn't even watch Pawn Stars. In 2013, he was already pulling about 3.5 million viewers